Welcome to an assignment by POL242TEHRAN2013. The focus of this study is to determine what factors most influence levels of confidence toward political institutions in Canada. Data selected for this analysis is derived from the 2011 Canadian election study, surveying a total of 1,076 respondents. Inspiring this research were events leading to the 2011 Canadian federal election, most notably the vote of no confidence passed by the House of Commons. This study wishes to observe whether the same sentiments resonate among the political body at large. As Kenneth Newton and Pippa Norris observed, confidence in major institutions remains the foundation of our representative democracy and is more important than loss of confidence toward elected officials. We will be continuing our observations on partisanship and accountability, which previously proved to be the strongest indicators of confidence and have been supported by researchers such as Belanger and Nadeau and Hetherington and Dalton. The dependent variable that we will be measuring is confidence in major political institutions, and a series of indicators were combined into an index, and the reliability analysis shows that their alpha score is 0.72. This indicates that the questions are related enough to combine into an index, and each indicator was coded to give positive attitudes a high value. The following three hypotheses were all recorded so that their highest value signifies the strongest degree of confidence in political institutions. Our first hypothesis measures political trust, our second, political efficacy, and our third hypothesis measures partisanship, which was recoded into a set of dummy variables for the purposes of multiple regression analysis, omitting conservatives as a reference category as they comprise the largest group. We have three initial hypotheses to which a fourth will be later added. Our first hypothesis measures political trust, predicting that those who believe that politicians are truthful should exhibit a greater degree of confidence toward political institutions. This follows the work of Harding and Newton, who introduced the concept of trust as an encapsulated interest in which the interest of the individual voter is intertwined with the behavior and trustworthiness of the individual politician. Our second hypothesis measures political efficacy, which follows the work of Arthur Miller and Ola Listock, who argue that those who feel empowered in politics should exhibit greater confidence toward political institutions. Our third hypothesis seeks to observe whether those who feel empowered in politics should exhibit a greater degree of confidence toward political institutions. This follows the study of Belanger and Nadeau, who observed that those who identify with leading political parties exhibit the greatest amount of confidence toward political institutions. A correlation matrix was produced to create the amount of variation each of the individual variables can explain in the level of confidence toward the political institutions. The data in the correlation matrix support our first hypothesis that levels of political trust affect levels of confidence toward political institutions. While all of our results are statistically significant, while looking at Pearson's R value for political trust and political efficacy in the first and second column, we can deduce relative to partisanship, these two independent variables are stronger predictors of variation in our dependent variable, accounting for 9 and 10% of variation respectively, while partisanship proves to be our weakest predictor, explaining a total of 3.2% of our variation in our dependent variable. From this table, we conclude that political efficacy is a more effective predictor of our respondents' level of confidence toward political institutions than trust or partisanship. However, we must further extend our observation to analyze the relationships between our first two independent variables, where political efficacy can effectively explain 14.3% of variation in degree of political trust. While it is evident that these two variables are similar conceptually, it is important to note that their interaction will be refuted after testing their levels of tolerance between the two variables, which granted the best values of 0.846 and 0.879 for the first and second variables respectively, that are within a close proximity to the desirable value of 1 and above the threshold of 0.2. From our multiple regression analysis, we can conclude that individuals who identify with parties other than the Conservative Party, especially the Liberal NDP and Bloc Québécois, have exhibited lower levels of confidence toward political institutions than our reference category, which is not surprising as they are often regarded as opposition parties vis-a-vis the Conservative Party. These opposition parties demonstrated lower levels of confidence toward political institutions than the Conservative Party, as demonstrated by their negative scores of negative 0.59, 0.583, and negative 0.427, respectively. The B values for the partisanship dummies indicate that respondents identifying with NDP and Liberal parties have approximately half the amount of confidence in political institutions that are conservative, whereas Bloc Québécois holds 5% less confidence in a reference category. Moreover, it is interesting to note that members identifying with the Green Party and those identifying with no party at all express higher levels of confidence in political institutions than the rest, showing the possibility of the decline of the influence of political parties in Canada. If we examine the standardized beta units of political efficacy, which has the highest value and therefore the strongest effect among these independent variables on the levels of confidence toward political institutions, which requires further identification. The adjusted R-square values indicates that these variables explain 15% of variation in our dependent variable. Now that we know that political efficacy is the strongest explanatory variable, we would like to observe this further by investigating the effects of satisfaction with democracy on the variable measuring political efficacy. Our rationale here is that those who are more satisfied with democracy should exhibit a greater feeling of political efficacy. This is our hierarchical regression in which we control for satisfaction with democracy, and the result provides partial explanation in which we observe a slight drop in beta and B values, however not by 1/3 of its value. After introducing the variable satisfaction with democracy, the adjusted R-square rose to 8%, making the equation as a whole a better fit. However, since the comparative beta values of political efficacy remains the strongest, it is important to look at it more closely. In this cross-tabulation between confidence and political efficacy, the relationship lies on the main diagonal. The tau c is 0.29, which is strong and highly significant. To further elaborate on this relationship, a control table is used to control for gender. The tau c value is much higher among females than males, although the relationship holds for both genders, and this shows specification. We can now finish off with a path analysis of all the results, which are all significant. H1 was proven with a beta score of 0.23, H2 was proven with a beta score of 0.25, and H3 was proven with their values shown respectively. In conclusion, our results indicate a possible waning of the role of partisanship in political parties in Canada. From our results, we can deduce that confidence toward political institutions in Canada relies less on the influence of parties and more on how each individual citizen measures their respective governments as accountable and accommodating their individual interests.